Hi, I'm Ashley with Campbell. Thanks for investing your time to help your community be a great place to live. Before you watch the video, make sure to click the subscribe button so that we can help you make educated decisions as a board member.
All right, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. It is now 12 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and begin. My name is Hakari at Campbell Property Management, and this is the HVAC and Filtering CEU course presented by Paul Murphy from Advanced Roofing. For those of you who are not familiar with Campbell, we have been in business since 1953, and we manage over 450 HOA and condo associations from Miami-Dade to Central Florida, including Orlando, Daytona, and the surrounding areas. Additionally, we are Florida's highest rated management company. We work to bring valuable education to board members and property managers through our webinars, our blogs, and our monthly newsletter. You can access our blog at getfan.org, and you can see our upcoming webinars at campbellevents.org. And with that, I will stop sharing and hand it over to Paul Murphy from Advanced Roofing to get us started.
Thank you so much. As you said, my name's Paul Murphy. I'm the Vice President of Advanced Air Systems, which is a division of Advanced Roofing. We are established in 1994. Advanced Air Systems is a experienced HVAC contractor as well as a mechanical contractor. We hold a state Florida license, mechanical license, and we're a division of Advanced Roofing, one of the top ranked roofing contractors in the state of Florida. Today, some of the services we're going to go over that Advanced Air Systems offers. We do everything from new construction, retrofits, replacements, repairs, and maintenance. Some of the things we're going to go over today are the basics of HVAC systems, the health hazards of our indoor environments, and solutions to these hazards. Starting off, we're going to talk about some of the ABCs of HVAC. You hear these terminologies thrown around, and maybe you don't know what they are, maybe you do, but we're going to kind of go over a few of them so that way you have a decent understanding when your HVAC contractor or mechanical contractor talks about these items or uses these acronyms, you'll understand. So BTU stands for British Thermal Units. It's a measurement of cooling or heating output. A ton is equivalent to 12,000 British thermal units per hour. So when they're talking about tons, we're not talking about weight of equipment. We're talking about the cooling capacity or heating capacity of that equipment, and that is measured in BTUs. So 12,000 BTUs is equal to 1 ton. So we just continue to multiply that on and on. Just easier to speak than about the capacity than talking about British thermal units. It's easier just to say, hey, this is a 1 ton, this is a 2 ton. Going from there, we have EER, which is your energy efficiency ratio. The more common one you hear is SEER, which is seasonal energy efficiency ratio. What the difference is between the two is one is just a constant temperature inside and out, and then SEER or SEER uh, calculates for the typical weather's changes throughout the entire year. So you're going to have your winter, your fall, your spring, and your summer temperatures in that calculation. CFM stands for cubic feet per minute. That's a measurement of airflow. You have RTU, which is typically rooftop unit. Typically, it's a self-contained package unit located on the roof deck, attached to a curb. Sometimes it could also be considered a condenser on the rooftop, but typically it's a package unit. Air handler or AHU, it stands for air handler or air handling unit. It circulates and conditions the indoor air using refrigerant, transfer heat, and while also filtering and adjusting temperature. Condensing unit converts refrigerant gas into a liquid by compressing it and then cooling it with a condenser coil and fan, which releases the heat and expels it outside. A chiller is a mechanical device used to facilitate heat transfer from refrigerant to a closed loop water system. A cooling tower is the way we reject that heat from whether it be AC units or chiller. It removes that heat through evaporation and expels it out to the outdoor environment. The next slide, we're going to kind of dive into the actual components of the HVAC system. So we're going to start at the condenser, which I like to call the heart of the system. Inside the condenser, you have the compressor. It compresses refrigerant and pumps it to the condenser coil as a high pressure gas. That condenser fan pulls air across that condenser coil, and it turns that gas, the high pressure hot gas, into a liquid. The condenser coil releases that heat from the high pressure gas, cooling it down into the high pressure liquid that we need. That high pressure liquid moves to the air handler, where the first thing it meets is the expansion valve, which rapidly drops the pressure of the refrigerant, causing the refrigerant to boil, which you would think that would mean hot, but because of how refrigerants work, and this specifically refrigerant that we use, it boils at a very low temperature. When it boils, it pulls heat from that coil, so that as that boiling refrigerant moves through that evaporator coil, it picks up heat, and then the blower motor pulls that air across that coil, and as the coil pulls that heat out of the air, you begin to produce cold air. Here's kind of the whole system all together, talking about it as one unit. So if you had a package unit, this is what it would look like. It'd be one unit. A split system kind of divides it at the compressor and condenser, and the air handler as the expansion valve and evaporator. But again, we start at the heart of the system. It pumps the refrigerant into the condenser coil. The condenser coil rejects the heat outside. Then the expansion valve expands the refrigerant, and it boils through the evaporator, pulling heat into the refrigerant and then bringing it back to the compressor. Now, let's talk about a little bit of indoor or IAQ. It's another terminology that we speak a lot about, is what is your IAQ, or what is your indoor air quality? We spend about 90% of our time indoors, so our indoor air quality is crucial for our health and well-being. Poor indoor air quality can lead to all sorts of kind of problems, whether respiratory issues, mold, allergies, headaches. You could being tired in your environment. It can cause just a bunch of different problems. And all of the things that we bring indoors are what cause these problems, because we bring in furniture, they release VOCs, we bring in paints and other chemicals that release other types of chemical compounds, and these all work together to create a very polluted indoor air environment. So just kind of going back through the things that are in our indoor environments, we're talking about carbon dioxide, tobacco smoke, viruses, body odors, dust, fiberglass, asbestos, gases. Those could be your building occupants and your materials. Dust mites are in your carpets, your fabrics, your cushions, your gases and vapors and odors and formaldehyde and VOCs that we hear of, the volatile organic compounds. Those are off-gassing from your furnitures, your carpets, your paints, your workplace cleaners, your solvents, your pesticides, your disinfectants and glues. And then you have the micro contaminants like fungi, molds, bacteria. Those are all in the damp areas, the stagnant water, the condensate pans. And then you get ozone, which is not healthy to breathe, which comes from your photocopiers, any electric motors, anything that would create static would cause that to be emitted. And some of the worst things into our indoor health could be ourselves. We bring in the flu seasons, and we bring colds and flus into the building, and with the HVAC system, that just spreads. So I have a little video that I'm going to play that kind of explains how that can spread throughout the building. I'm just going to play that now.
Are you sick? Don't you dare sneeze on me. Do you know how far your germs can travel? Normally you hold about half a liter of fluid in your lungs. So when you sneeze, you're able to spray as much as a water bottle's worth of mucus into the air around you. It shoots out of your mouth in the form of moist, germ-infested clouds, traveling up to 35 meters per second. That's fast enough to give you a speeding ticket on the highway. Once that cloud hits the air, it expands, breaking up into snotty strings, then a series of different-sized droplets, all trapped in a turbulent gas cloud. One brave group at MIT discovered that the biggest droplets can travel up to 2 meters, about the distance between your desk and 2 desks away. But most other droplets? Those travel much farther, up to 8 meters. That's about 5 desks away. Not only that, the germ-infested gas cloud is less dense than the air around it, so it rises upwards, right to where ventilation systems and other people's unsuspecting noses and mouths await. Even though these are relatively smaller droplets, they're probably still teeming with harmful pathogens like the flu virus. Even worse, depending on the ventilation, they can spread through a room in just a few seconds and remain suspended for up to 10 minutes. Now, if you happen to notice someone around you sneeze or cough, you can hold your breath as you move out of range. But during the flu season, that might not even be enough, because there are danger zones everywhere, especially on surfaces like desks, doorknobs, and steel handrails. It turns out, the flu virus has been found to survive for 24 hours on a steel surface. And if you touch that surface and don't wash your hands before eating, you may have just gotten infected. So let's say you go into work sick with the flu one day, and you start to sneeze. Now, according to one study, you'll probably only infect 1 to 2 other people. You're clearly showing symptoms of the flu. However, it's going to take a few days for symptoms to show up in other people you've infected. So those poor souls unknowingly also come into work sick over the next few days. And they will potentially infect 1 to 2 more people. In an office of 100 desks, this could mean 10 or 15 sick people by the end of 2 weeks. That's over 10% of the office. And all of it started with just one sick person. You. All thanks to the germ-laden cloud you so generously shared. So the next time you're not feeling great and you're sneezing up a storm, just think about your poor coworkers and take a sick day for yourself and for them.
So that just kind of explains how some of the human factor can come into workplace environment and our indoor air quality. So the next thing we're going to talk about is humidity control, because that can lead to another bunch of issues. If you're not controlling your humidity, you don't want it too low, you don't want it too high, and we're kind of going to go through the issues with the 2 different sides of the spectrum. Anytime you have your humidity too high, obviously we're going to be concerned about molds. But the other thing that can happen are dust mite growth. It allows viruses and bacteria to increase. It allows VOCs to become airborne. So we want to try to keep our high end of our humidity below 60. That's kind of hard in South Florida because we're practically in a swamp. But typically, I recommend for at least South Florida to be between 50 to 60% relative humidity is what's usually obtainable. If you can get below 50, that's great. You kind of want to be in that healthy zone that I have here on the right-hand side here. Below 40, 30, and all that, you run into a bunch of other issues. It can cause damage to mucous membranes, allow viruses and bacteria also increase the production of ozone because it's too dry, which can also damage your lungs. So we don't want to do that. So want to stay in that healthy zone. I try to say, like I said, between 40 and 60 is what's realistic for this area. Obviously, if you're in a drier climate, then you would have to humidify, so it'd be the opposite, but you want to definitely try to keep tabs on the humidity there. So the healthy zone that we're looking for and temperature-wise is between 68 and 75 degrees. You want the humidity somewhere between 35 and 60% relative humidity. We want a slight pressure to the building. The reason is so that way we can reduce any outside air infiltration. So we don't want the air from outside coming into the building. We want to push all the air in the building out of the building, not bringing any outside air in. We don't want it super pressurized so the doors are blowing off, but we do want it to be slightly pressured. I want to make sure that all our rooms are getting the proper ventilation and the air changes per hour so that we're meeting all codes and responsibilities for our environments. Next, we're going to talk about filtration. If anybody has ever heard the word MERV, Basically, MERV stands for Minimum Efficiency Reporting Value. And basically, what that is the quality or what your filter really filters out. I put a little table on the bottom right here that kind of shows you a graphic. So MERV 6 will get your lints, your household dust and pollen. Your MERV 8 will add any dust mites and mold spores. Your MERV 11 will capture that pet dander, smoke, smog, and sneeze. And then your MERV 13, which is one of the highest ratings you'll probably get on a filter that's not HEPA. It will actually filter bacteria and virus carriers, not the virus itself, but the carriers. So that's what's most important. So well, everybody asked me, well, why don't we just all put MERV 13 on our units? Well, your unit is designed for a static pressure, and depending on the design of your unit, it dictates whether it can take a MERV 13. Um, so as we move up in MERV of the unit, the filters become more restrictive, causing a total static pressure to increase. So we don't want to put a too restrictive of a filter on our units and cause any damage to our evaporator fan motor. So if you have any questions about what filter you can use, definitely consult your HVAC contractor. He should be able to tell you whether you can take a MERV 8, a MERV 11, or a MERV 13 filter. Talking about diving into the differences in filters, we start with HEPA filters. HEPA filtration is probably the most effective, filtration that you can offer, but it's not something that we typically see on any AC units. Typically, it's its own unit. It's a HEPA filtration unit with its own blower motor that can pull air across that filter. It's very effective at cleaning air. It produces very good indoor air quality, but it's a high cost and does require replacement. And it's just not suitable for like a home or an office. This is where we see this as clean rooms, hospitals, anything that has to have filtered air that cannot be compromised. So that's where you'll see it in the hospital lab environments and stuff like that. Um, the next one we have is carbon media filters. The carbon media filters are effective for removing odors in spaces. Typically, when we have our property managers reach out to us with a odor in a suite or a tenant's space, we'll suggest carbon media filters first. The carbon is good at pulling out any odors in the air and does a really good job at that. And it's not too much of an increase in price over your standard pleated filters, so it's economical to do rather than like a HEPA filter or something like that. So we use carbon media filters a lot anytime we're dealing with any kind of smoke smells, food smells, or any unpleasant smells or odors we want to try to remove. Next is your standard foam fiber filters that you see. You see just the flat blue or orange foam filters. Those aren't great at capturing very fine particulate. Those are probably below a MERV 6. So you really want something that has pleats to it. The pleated material gives you more surface area. Anytime you have more surface area, it'll do one thing, so you can put a finer filter material on it because you have more surface area. So that's typically why we recommend the pleateds. If you can fit a thicker pleat filter on your unit, like a 2-inch or a 4 or 5-inch, which usually requires a separate filter cabinet. But if you can do it, it's highly recommended because you can get more filter surface area, allowing your unit to not be restricted, but also gain the functionality of the higher rated filters like a MERV 13, where you can filter down to the actual virus carriers. So I always recommend pleated filters for your units. Another thing we see out in commercial buildings a lot is bipolar or needlepoint ionization. Basically, this sends negative ions out into the air, causes particles to clump together. And why that is good is because it makes the particles that are in the air bigger. Anytime you make those particles bigger, the first thing that happens is they fall down to the floor where they can be cleaned up, obviously, when you vacuum or mop. Another thing is that those particles being bigger are easier to catch in a filter that is not as, I guess, that has not enough MERV rating. So you can use a MERV 8 instead of using a MERV 11, and you can capture more material because you're having those particles combine and stick together. UV light, we hear a lot about. A lot of people get sold UV lights. We only recommend UV lights when you're trying to keep a surface clean from bacteria growth or viruses or any kind of growth that you're looking to eliminate. It doesn't really purify the air because the air is moving through your machine way too fast that the UV light won't be exposed to it long enough. It really does good for keeping coils clean, drain pans clean, and all of that. It is, something that you want to make sure you protect yourself from. If you have a UV light on your unit, you don't want to be able to see that UV light because it could damage your eyes. So you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself anytime you are looking at a unit with a UV light, that either the UV light's turned off or that you have protection for your eyes. Um, the other thing we use is ozone generators. What we use these for are cleaning out spaces. Obviously, nobody can be in the space when these are being used because ozone does pose a risk to human health. But if you need to eliminate like a smoke smell, like cigar shop, we've have a lot of locations that our property managers manage where they need to switch use from a cigar shop or a smoke shop to normal retail, and they want to get rid of that smell. It's some of the hardest smell to get rid of. We will, clear out the facility, make sure nobody's in there, close it up, lock it up, put an ozone generator in there for a while. We'll allow it to air out completely, ventilate it, and then that will usually eliminate all the smells that are in that facility so we can reuse that location for a different use so it doesn't have to be a cigar tenant anymore. So that's good for that. And then kind of a culmination of all of the years of designs and products came together on a product that we sell called the Remy Halo. And we really think it's one of the best packages for, making sure that your air is clean. It does help like bond those particles together, but it also produces hydrogen peroxides that also clean the air. So I'm going to play a little video on the Remy Halo. It's a good product to have in your AC system if you're willing to kind of step up on your indoor air quality products.
The high occupancy of commercial buildings makes them one of the most polluted indoor air environments. The Remy Halo by RGF can reduce these contaminants at the source. Installing easily into any ducted air conditioning system, the Remy Halo is designed to recreate the natural way the environment removes impurities in outside air. It does this by sending out airborne hydrogen peroxide into the space where you work and breathe, attacking microbes like bacteria, viruses, and mold spores, and reducing impurities like volatile organic compounds and odors in the air-conditioned space of the building at the same time. The Remy Halo improves your existing filtration by causing airborne particles and allergens to stick together, increasing filtration rates and energy efficiency without sacrificing airflow. Medical facilities using the Remy Halo can reduce airborne pathogens, and long-term care facilities have saved dollars by eliminating chemical odor cover-ups and increasing worker productivity. Schools can see a decrease in sickness and absentee rates. When you install a Remy Halo, you will notice the difference in the quality and freshness of the air you breathe and wonder why you did not take this simple measure sooner. To find out more, visit or talk to your local air conditioning and heating contractor to start breathing cleaner, fresher indoor air.
That's Remy Halo. It really is a great product that we use. It's ozone free, so you don't have to worry about any ozone being emitted. So really do like it. Typically we'll come into a space, we'll do a test, we'll see what the indoor air pollutants are, suggest a solution. We don't always suggest Remy Halo. It's always about coming up with the best solution for you. So you want to have somebody make sure that they're testing for what's the contaminants are. doing a data log and figuring out what those issues are, and then figuring out what treatment is best for your space. I hear a lot about duct cleaning and gonna give you my opinion on it. Basically, duct cleaning is a device, sort of like a vacuum, with a spinning brush. On the right-hand side, you can see a typical duct cleaning brush. We do not typically recommend duct cleaning for the ductwork that is in our spaces down here in South Florida. If you have metal lined duct, that your ductwork is lined with metal, then duct cleaning is perfectly fine. But we find that down in here in South Florida, we have three different types of typical ductwork that I show on the bottom here. One on the bottom left being our flex ductwork, which basically has a plastic liner inside it with a wire um, that keeps it from collapsing, and then fiberglass insulation on the outside with a vapor barrier outside of that. Basically, that plastic liner becomes super brittle, and that brush is very violent and very abrasive, and it can tear that liner, exposing the fiberglass. And fiberglass is not something that you want floating around in your air system. It is cancerous. You don't want that in your airstream, so we want to make sure that fiberglass stays out of the airstream and stays stuck to the ductwork and not part of the air that you're breathing. The next one in the middle there, the yellow one, is your typical duct board that you'll find throughout buildings everywhere. It is an exposed insulation or fiberglass made of just a fiber board that's glued together and a vapor barrier. Inside there, again, your duct cleaning brush can disturb that fiberglass and then make it airborne again. So that's another reason we don't recommend cleaning fiber duct board as well. And then you have metal duct that is called internal lined metal duct. And if it doesn't have a metal liner, then you just have exposed fiberglass. So we typically recommend that if you have that as well and you don't have a metal liner, that you don't get duct cleaning on it. If you really need to have the ducts cleaned, I mean, most of the time, and we do a lot of work for Chase Bank, is we suggest just replacement. If the ductwork is that compromised, we just go ahead and replace the ductwork rather than trying to clean it. The EPA has done a report that duct cleaning has not proven to provide a cleaner indoor air. So, and they have consistently stood behind that report. So, I really don't see duct cleaning working in any situation other than if you have an internal metal lined duct, and you probably could get some dust off the walls of the ductwork. And that's about it. Dryer ducts, those are great. It's great for cleaning dryer ducts because those fill with lint and that'll get all the lint out. But we don't suggest it on any of these types of duct systems that we see here in South Florida. Preventative maintenance. We want to talk about preventative maintenance because that's some of the common issues that we run into with units is just clogged drain lines and clogged filters causing fan motors to die. So making sure that you're doing your maintenance, you're changing those filters and the recommended frequency that you must change them. Now, everybody's frequency for changing filters could be different depending on what kind of pollutants that you have in your indoor and how many people are moving in and out of the building. So you want to make sure that you're checking with your HVAC contractor when's the best cycle rotation for your filters, what kind of filter media you should be using, making sure that you're getting your drain lines cleared out and cleaned out, so that way the drain is flowing properly, that you get some algicide on the bottom of the coils and in the drain pan, so that way the drain pan's not growing anything. It's just, this will make sure that your equipment runs efficiently, it extends the life of the equipment, and will reduce those service calls and water damage, most likely the water damage from a clogged drain or pan. And then who should perform this maintenance? It can be your own qualified personnel or a contractor. It's just make sure it's somebody that is qualified to work on this equipment. You don't want anybody saying that, oh yes, I can work on this equipment. You want to make sure that They are qualified, they have the right credentials, they have the right certifications to work on this equipment. And you want to make sure you have technicians that are familiar with the property and the equipment as well. You don't want to just be bringing anybody random. You want to make sure that you work with one person that really understands your needs, your requirements, and your equipment. And that pretty much wraps up our webinar today. If you have any questions, I'm here to help. You can reach me at this email and phone number, as well as Fabi. If you have any business needs, you can reach out to her for any possible opportunities. Thank you guys for coming. I'll stay around and answer any questions in the Q&A, and we'll go from there.
Paul, if you like, I could go ahead and ask the question I received
Yeah.
from Corinne Lagano. She stated that she has concrete ducts original to her 1967 building on the Intracosta. And then her question is, should I have these ducts cleaned? I have white dust on my furniture every day.
Okay. So you have a concrete shaft that's providing air into the space, and you're having white dust build up on the furniture. I would say duct cleaning is probably not going to do much, because if it's exposed concrete, the most likely, if the dust is coming from the actual ductwork, it's because the concrete is dissolving, or basically powder coming out from the ductwork or from that shaft and landing on your AC or on your furniture. So what I would do is, yeah, if you said to have them cleaned and sealed, you could have cleaned and sealed. It can be done. That's not, we wouldn't suggest against that. That's fine to do. We're kind of warning people away from doing any duct cleaning on any fiberglass, because we don't want to disturb that fiberglass and bring it into the airstream. So cleaning your concrete ducts is fine. I would probably, to solve your problem, seal it. Make sure you seal it. So cleaning is not going to be the only thing. So after cleaning, well, be cleaning regular, you shouldn't need to be, unless you notice an issue, whether that be mold or some kind of debris still coming from the grills. Now, remember, when you see dust on your grill, it's typically not coming from the AC duct work. It's coming from the indoor environment, and because the velocity on the grills is so high, it tends to place the air tends to place the dust and impact the dust on the nearby, whether it be a ceiling or grill. So when you're looking at that dust all over your grills, it's not coming out of the ductwork. It's typically in the space and depositing on there because high velocity there.
So Michael Thomas asked, besides regularly changing filters and vinegar and hot water down the drain line every other month, what else can I do to extend the life of my condenser and air handler?
Okay, so some of the things we want to do to extend the life of our unit is, once a year you want to have a mechanical or an HVAC contractor come take a look at it. They want to go over through the whole system, make sure your contactors, your relays, your boards, everything's clean, as well as clean your condenser coil. If the condenser coil cannot reject the heat, you're not going to be able to get good energy efficiency, and you also tend to beat up on your compressor, your fan motor. It just overheat pretty much everything. So you want to clean that condenser coil, as well as just clean the unit overall, make sure that it's not collecting any debris, because if leaves and any kind of yard debris fall on it, that will tend to promote rust and corrosion. So you want to go ahead and get that all removed from there. And then on the inside, your air handler, you don't typically recommend evaporator coil cleans unless it's absolutely necessary. So just cleaning out your drain line, making sure your filters are replaced, keeping on top of it is all you need to do on the inside. You really only need to do something there major if you didn't stay on top of those two, making sure the drain line is clean and making sure that the filters are clean.
Kelly Krittenberger, she asked, what is the cost of the Remy Halo to purchase and install?
So the Remy Halo is typically somewhere between 900 to 1100 for your typical units between, 1 to 5 tons. Anything larger than that, you have to use a multiple or a larger, one of their larger models to be able to do that unit. So the price will change from there.
Any other questions?
Is it important that the
Michael,
condensate line from the drain pan has a proper trap and clean? So yes, so it is important that it has a proper trap because basically the P trap on a unit or the condensate trap, what it does is prevent water from going back into the drain pan. We need to have we need to have a specifically sized P trap for our drain based on our total static pressure. So that is really something for you can't just put any kind of P trap on there and it'd be the right size. You really need to size it for the unit. So there needs to be some testing done. Then we need to design a P trap, and then that P trap should be clean and full of water, so that way it prevents any air from moving back through into the drain pan and air handler itself.
does Remy
Does
help stop disease for
for
cooling
cooling
tower?
tower. No, so Remy Halo doesn't do anything with cooling towers, and what you're talking about, I'm sure, is a Legionnaire's disease for cooling towers. The Legionnaires and other bacteria that can grow inside cooling towers really can only be treated with chemical treatments. So it's important to stay on top of your chemical treatments on your cooling tower. Now, there's a lot of different types of chemical treatments that you can do. We don't do that. We definitely recommend some people for some contractors for you that do and specialize in chemical treatment. But that's something you want to look out for is making sure your chemicals are maintained properly. Also, there's another device on your chemical side for your cooling tower that's called the blowdown valve that can release water and that's stuck. That can cause you excess water bills. So you want to make sure that somebody is maintaining your chemicals for your cooling tower all times, making sure that it's all operating properly, that you have the right amount of chemicals. The blowdown valve. It's a blowdown valve. It blows, it cleans out the water and refreshes the system. So you want to make sure that that valve is operating properly and it's not excessively or stuck open. We've seen cases where it's stuck open. The customer is complaining about excess water usage. Thinks the cooling tower is actually the culprit. Really, it turns out to be the chemicals. Now, sometimes it can be the cooling tower because either the cooling tower is leaking or the float valve is operating excessively. We're cooling tower specialists pretty much in every brand down here. So if you ever have a cooling tower need, please reach out, or you just want to have a question, reach out to me. More than happy to help anybody here. Any other questions about cooling towers or chillers or anything else?
For single family homes, is twice a year AC maintenance necessary, or could it be done once per year?
I think if you're talking about changing your filter and cleaning your drain line, I think that needs to be done quarterly pretty much for any standard family home. But yeah, I would always typically recommend that you have a HVAC contractor come out once a year and check over the equipment overall. If you can change your filters and keep your drain line clean, um, then you should be fine to do that quarterly or as needed as much as possible. Um, but you want to make sure that drain line is clean all the time so that that water's flowing out of there. And you want to make sure those filters are clean. You don't want them to be restricted and causing the fan motor to pull high amperage or start to damage that fan motor inside your unit. So if typically what we see is quarterly with an annual done by a contractor is what I recommend. Any other questions?
Mm.
We do ventilation as well, so your exhaust systems, your smoky vac systems, your stairway pressurization systems. So if you have any questions with those, I can help you with that. exhaust fans for garages, control systems for those.
And Paul, perhaps you should mention that if they would like a free cooling tower inspection, to those attending, we will be happy to coordinate that with you.
Yeah, if you guys want us to, we have a certified cooling tower specialist on our staff that goes through and does all of our cooling tower first inspections. So you can go ahead and reach out to Fabi. She would be able to coordinate that with you. And he would be able to come out, give you a free inspection, go over all any issues that he may find with your cooling tower, and provide resources to get those repaired. What is your opinion on residential drain pan chemical cleaners? I use one at my house. I forgot the name of it. Let me check real quick. It's sold at Home Depot. You can use it. It's a very popular drain cleaner, and I haven't had any issues. And we use it on certain properties as well. But pretty much anything you can get poured down the drain regularly. I don't recommend bleach, but if you can get vinegar down there, pretty much anything that's sold from Home Depot at their in their HVAC aisle that's made for condensate is fine. Just not bleach. I don't recommend putting bleach down the drain. So vinegar or anything that's on that aisle is fine. So.
No other questions that I see right now?
Well, if you guys don't have anything else for right now, we can go ahead and I guess log off here, but you have our contact. So if you have any questions about HVAC or any ventilation requirements or anything like that that's technical, feel free to reach out to me. And if you have any opportunities or want to take advantage of that cooling tower free inspection, reach out to Fabi, okay?
Thank you. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you, everybody.
afternoon.
Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
Paul. Thank you, Fabi. And again, thank you everyone for joining. We hope to see you again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ali.
Thanks for watching. For more great educational content, click the subscribe button now.